Inflatable stand-up paddleboards are one of the most popular ways to enjoy the water, and for good reason. I can't think of a better way to spend a sunny summer day than hanging out on boards with friends or family. And when the float's over, I can just roll up my board and throw it in the back of my car. Another reason inflatable paddleboards are so popular is that you can find a board capable of most any recreational outings at a very reasonable price. At Paddling Magazine, we've tested dozens of both high-performance and budget-friendly paddleboards, and we've figured out that if you just want to enjoy a casual day on the water, you don't have to spend much. This includes one of our favorites, the Niphean Classic, a 10-foot, 6-inch all-around stand-up paddleboard that is perfect for an afternoon of paddling on the local lake, bay, or drifting down the river. I'm Brenna Kelly, part of the team at Paddling Magazine, and I've been stand-up paddleboarding for 15 years on lakes, rivers, and oceans. And we're gonna take a deeper look into why the Niphean Classic might be one of the best paddleboards you can get when shopping on a budget. There are also a number of boards similar to the Niphean, and we hope that even if this exact model isn't available to you, this review can help you make your decision with the boards available to you online or in store. Let's start with the specs on this board. We are looking at the Niphean Classic 10-6, and as that hints, it's a 10-foot, 6-inch long paddleboard. This is right in the middle of popular lengths for all-around paddleboards, which tend to fall between 10 and 11 feet long. Niphean also has the Classic in 10-foot and 11-foot models. The 10-6 we have today is also 33 inches wide, 6 inches thick, and weighs about 19 pounds. This is a very standard size inflatable paddleboard, and if you visit the store or website, you'll see a number of models fall around these dimensions. This size generally provides a nice stable platform that can still cover some ground. This board only costs $270 US as of this review, and I want to touch on everything you'll get at that price before we move further. The short answer is nearly everything you need to go paddleboarding, except for a personal flotation device. The board includes a carrying bag, a manual pump capable of high pressure, a paddle that also turns into a kayak paddle, a kayak seat that attaches to the board and gives you 2 paddle crafts in one, a set of fins for the tail, a coiled leash so that you don't lose your board if you fall off, a repair kit, and it even includes a small waterproof foam pouch. So you get quite a bit for that budget-friendly price. Niphean boards are also unique in that they include a center fin that acts like a keel. It's not something we've seen on other paddle boards, and we'll share a bit more on this later. Now, other than the center keel system, what's on the board itself is fairly standard. On the deck of the Niphean Classic, we have the deck pad glued to the area where you stand. Most of the time, our feet aren't going to be far from the center handle, but you can also move around on this paddle to trim how your board sits in the water, or bunny hop back to lift your nose for some quicker pivot turns. We have bungee storage up near the nose, which is a good place to tuck away a shell or a bag with extra layers, water shoes, a water bottle, or a dry bag with a lunch and sunscreen. Now, I don't usually have my cell phone under the bungees because I usually have it in a pouch or stored in my PFD pocket if I'm wearing a traditional foam jacket with room. But if you had to store your cell phone or a radio on the board, then this bungee would be a good attachment point. So the deck bungees give you a good bit of storage to bring some essentials along. The Classic also has 4 D-ring attachments located around the center area of the board. And this is for attaching the kayak seat if you'd like to use it. The nice thing about this option is that you have both a sit-on-top kayak and a paddleboard in one. On a windy day, when you'd still like to go out paddling, but the conditions would make it difficult, you can clip on this seat and transform the Niphean paddleboard into a kayak, and you're good to go. The Niphean also has a central carry handle that we mentioned before to carry your paddleboard to the water. There is also a second handle at the tail, and you can see that there is a metal D-ring here as well. This is the spot where you attach the coil leash to keep you and the board tethered. Next to this handle, we have the inflatable valve. Now, the Niphean board is a drop stitch board like every other ISUP available, and it has a recommended pressure of 12 to 15 psi, which you can see is written here right around the valve. This board is going to perform best within that range. Any less, and it's going to have a soggy, unstable feel when you're standing on it and not paddle nearly as well. Any more, and you risk damaging or popping the board. These types of valves also have two positions. The first, which you'll usually find on the board, is when it's deflated. It's what we call the open position, or the two-way position. This means air can travel in and out freely. It's the right position for deflating, but if you inflate it like this, then when you remove your pump, all the air is just going to rush out. Now this valve also has what you call a closed or one-way position. Twisted into this position, forced air can fill the board but won't escape once we remove our pump. While we're talking about this valve, it's worth mentioning that unlike most inflatable kayaks, an inflatable stand-up paddleboard like the Niphean Classic only tends to have one air chamber for the entire board. The material on these boards is tough. You shouldn't have any issues bumping into a rock or a branch, and these paddle boards generally hold up for a few seasons, even a low-cost board like this. However, if the board is punctured or ripped, there is no second air chamber to keep you afloat, and you'll have to rely on your PFD to keep you floating until you can get to land. The last part to touch on the Niphean Classic is what's underneath. At the tail, we have what's called a 2-in-1 fin system. Here, we have a central fin box for our main all-around fin, and above it we have two smaller fin boxes for our side bites. These fins provide a few things to this stand-up paddleboard. First, they help it track in a straight line, and without the fins, the board would spin every time you took a stroke. Next, the fins help with stability when the board is leaned edge to edge. And last, these fins also help the board make carving turns. Niphean also has this center board type fin box and an included fin for it. The idea is to provide the board more stability. Personally, I think it's best left out unless you're planning on paddling for a much longer distance or you really struggle keeping your board straight. Now that we've gone through everything included with this board, let's talk about the design and how this inflatable paddleboard performs on the water. The Niphean Classic is what is often called an all-around paddleboard shape. It has a rounded nose and tail, and you can see this means the board maintains much of its width throughout the entire length. This is extremely helpful with stability and why many inflatable paddleboards for beginners, recreational, and everyday use have rounded nose and tails. Paddling on a calm lake, I did find the Niphean Classic to be fairly stable paddleboard. Not only does this wider all-around shape provide stability, but the 6-inch thickness of the board also gives the drop stitch material a solid feel for standing on when at the proper air pressure. I've been paddleboarding so long that I don't often fall in, but to show you what it looks like to get back on this style of board, I'm willing to make an exception. As you can see, the leash kept the board from taking off without the wind across the lake, so I still have a board to get onto, thank goodness. Now, by using the grab handle at the center, I'm able to pull myself across the Classic, get into a seated position, and once I'm settled, I can stand back up and get moving again. Easy peasy. If you find that challenging, you can also get a friend to counterbalance your board by pushing down on the opposite side you're getting onto. It's always a good idea to paddle with friends anyways. It's more safe, and they usually have better snacks. Next, let's talk about speed and tracking. A 10-6 board with this round nose and 33-inch width isn't going to win any races, but I did find it cruised along just fine at a casual pace. It's natural for these round nose boards to have a little clapping as you pass over the small waves, because the nose is riding over and slapping the water ahead of it. Whereas a more aggressive touring board with a tapered nose cuts right through. Because I was expecting this, I wasn't bothered by it and was prepared for it when I hit some chop. It's one of the trade-offs for the stability of this design versus a more narrow, tapered touring board. With the fin setup on the tail, the board tracks pretty well, which is important for a paddleboard so you can get momentum and avoid switching hands with every stroke. It is typical to switch paddling sides every 3 to 5 strokes. I found that with the center fin on this board, I was able to paddle on the same side a bit longer than normal. This is to your advantage if you plan to paddle for long straight stretches. Without the center mount fin, the board turns fairly well, even with the fin set up on the tail. While in motion, I can make longer carving turns utilizing and engaging the 2-in-1 fins on the Classic. Or if I'm moving slowly or standing in place, I'll utilize the flat bottom of the board, take a sweep stroke to turn, or even take a small step back, free the nose a bit for a more of a pivot turn. The only real downsides to the Niphean Classic are the limitations common for most inflatable paddleboards with all-around shape. This board isn't going to glide through the water like a touring shape or a sleek fiberglass board, and you should temper your expectations for how much water you are going to cover until you have a feel for how it handles. It should also be kept in mind that there are trade-offs with a budget board compared to a premium inflatable paddleboard. And this trade-off tends to occur in the materials and construction. Glues, stitching, and material layups are what makes the board durable and perform well. While we haven't had any issues with this board, it shouldn't be a surprise if a low-cost paddleboard doesn't hold up as well as a higher-cost one. Similarly, the paddle that comes with the board is also an inexpensive build, and after some use, this may be something you want to upgrade. Overall though, this is a great budget-friendly inflatable paddleboard that you can take on a sheltered water like small lakes and bays. You should take it on the ocean side if conditions are calm, but since a thick inflatable doesn't have the defined edges of a fiberglass board, don't expect to be carving up the face of a wave. This board also works well on slow rivers without whitewater, like you might find on your local blueway. However, if your river has any significant current, it's recommended to have a quick release leash that attaches to your PFD or as a belt around your waist, and you know how to release it should your leash get snagged on any object in the current. The Niphean Classic is largely available online through the manufacturer and on Amazon. You can find even more paddleboard options and paddling guidance in our online articles to the best inflatable stand-up paddleboards, and by visiting our friends at the Water Sports Foundation. Catch you on the water.